Like I said, we'll be going through the algorithm. Um, I've defined the algorithm into four blocks. The first one is you define the structure to hold your data set. Your data set contains um, the record within the CSV file. Each line within the CSV file represents the record of each student. And then within your program, you define a structure. And what allows you to do that is an element called struct, a programming element in C that is called struct. It helps you to define the data struct, the data set uh, um, within the CSV file. So the first thing you do is you define a structure to hold the data set, and then the second thing you need to do is you need to create a file input stream object so that you'll be able to get the number of records within the CSV file by calling a function called file inline count. File inline count. Now, what this function does for you is to return the number of records within the CSV file. We're going to be going through it. By the time we open the IDE, you will understand it better. Now, for you to open a file stream, an input stream, you call a function within the C library. The function is called fopen. Fopen takes two arguments. Argument means value or parameters. You can also call it parameters. Now there you define the path location to the file. So if your file, for example, is saved inside your document, and then you now create a folder within the document, you need to specify here. The file mode, it's a specification that allows you to tell uh, the runtime environment that your file should be in a particular mode. So it could be in a read mode, it could be in a write mode, it could be read write mode. We are going to be going through those different modes later on when I open up the IDE. Now, like I said, the file inline count, it's a function that allows you to um, get the number of records within the CSV file. Now, for me, I created seven records, excluding the header of the CSV file. Of course, the header will contain header information of that CSV file, like matric number, first name, last name, the course code, and the scores of the student. So this function, it takes in a file input stream object. You pass a file input stream object to this function, and then you can see here that I defined a return type. The return type of this function is integer. So by the time the function terminates, it is going to be returning to your calling function the number of records within the CSV file that you have created. All right, now the third thing you need to do is to use the number of records returned by the file inline count. You use that number of records returned to create your struct array. Now, why do you need to create a struct array? Now, when you define your struct is just like defining the columns within your database. In your database table, you have the columns and the rows. So the same way in C programming language, you can define your structure to have attributes within it. So your structure will have attributes like the matric number of the student, the first name of the student, the last name of the student, and also the CGPA of the student. By the time you are done with the computation, then you want to have the CGPA of the student. So here is how to define the struct in C programming language. Here is the specifier, or yeah, here's the specifier. You specify struct student record. Now, this student record is a user-defined type, and then record is a variable that is going to be holding reference to the data set that you have defined within the struct. Now, number of records here is what this function has already returned, which represent the number of records within the CSV file. Now you pass it to the struct array. Now the fourth one you're going to be doing is you pass the number of records file object and the structure or struct array to another function called process data. Now this function processes your information. What it does are lighted below. Um, Now let me just define. Let me show you the structure of that function. Now this is the function name. It takes in three arguments or three values: the file, which is the file input stream object, and then you have the struct array, and then the number of records within the CSV file. Now this function returns void, meaning it will not return any value to the calling function. So this is the way the function is defined. Now these are the things that the function process data set is going to be doing. You have process data set reads the content of the CSV file by extracting key values like scores into a structured data set. What it means is you have your file input stream. There are two types of read that we've done that we are going to be doing within the program. The first read is the first one that I highlighted here, file input, file in line count. That one returns it reads the content of the CSV file and returns back the number of records within that CSV file. Now the second read is going to be done inside the process data set function. Is going to read the content of the file and extract the values inside extract the values within the file input stream, extract the values and store them within your struct array. And then of course the last one is number of records. This number of records, we're going to be using it to loop through the file. I think by the time we open the IDE, you will understand